Female Apprentice Coach Program. What is it? It's a new program. It started this year. It's its inaugural year. I'm one of 18. Izzy's one of 18 that have received this position. So basically, Youth Sport came together with Sport Canada, and they put an initiative together to retain women in coaching. And so the program itself is aimed to do three things. One, increase the opportunities for young women. That makes me feel young. That's lovely. Young women to have access to coaching experiences. Obviously, to support us in our professional development opportunities, whether it be on court or off court, and then also to provide youth sport head coaches with advanced training the opportunity to mentor, because that's not always an opportunity for them as well. So that was kind of their three main focuses when they put this program together. And through my, I think you can go to the next slide, Reagan. Through my position with University of Calgary, I basically applied for the position with the help of my head coach, Damien Jennings, who's on this call, and our athletic director. And I just put together a proposal about what my experience could look like. Was fortunate enough to receive some funding to top up my salary at U of C. So that's kind of how it came about. Like I said, it's an inaugural year. So Sport Canada has already agreed to more funding for the following year, which is really, really exciting. But it's been interesting navigating this with COVID. So within the program, without negating what COVID has done to our basketball community, it's given me the opportunity to do a couple things. One is to freely navigate my professional development, which the freedom of that has been really nice because I can select a course and it's funded. And so I've been able to do that. I did my first one with Mark in the fall. So another thing it's afforded me is just the opportunity to be on Canada basketball calls, and just what value that was. We had a 4-week clinic, and man, I was like, talk about being the dumbest person in the room and being a sponge. It was such a great opportunity for me just to be exposed to high level thinking and high level conversations. So that's been awesome. And then just very organic mentorship opportunities, whether that be with my head coach or other coaches or other people who've received this female apprentice status. Like, it's just afforded me good conversations, good access to lots of virtual teaching. I think that's very related to the COVID pandemic, but it's just given me the ability to literally have information at my fingertips that's very applicable to the stage of coaching that I'm in. So next slide, Reagan. Just I'll finish up on just this little piece about the program. We can't be oblivious to what COVID has done to the basketball world and to us all financially. But at minimum, I would hope that this program is maintained. But in years to come, and if anyone, finds themselves in this position of applying for this program or helping support someone apply for this program, I just really would envision it being like a pipeline, basically, for really, really specific identified coaches. And maybe those coaches go through a very rigorous, you learn by fire. So just a very rigorous year of learning what it's like to coach at this level. So it's a great start for female coaches and for youth sport and Sport Canada to collaborate and maintain just so many well-minded young female athletes who have played the game at a high level and now want to coach at a high level. So while I can't, just with the time allotted, I can't give this program the description and just the detail that it needs and what it deserves. So please, if you have questions, ask them at the end of my time or at the end of our call, because I'm happy to answer them. And Isabel can probably answer some as well. It's just been interesting navigating this through COVID. But anyway, let's move on to the next topic that I have, just for women in coaching. So yeah, perfect. Thanks, Reagan. So I just want to break this down. And again, I want to respect time. So I'm just going to talk about my experiences being a female coach. And then I just want to dive into some challenges and opportunities and leave everyone with a little bit of encouragement, male or female alike. I think there's pieces of encouragement for all of us. So I began coaching in 2008. Actually, I take that back. I was a senior in high school and I coached our 9th grade team, freshman team, and I got a technical in my first game. So I knew I was in the right position. So that's when I started coaching. But I really started coaching in 2008 with PGC basketball. That was between my freshman and sophomore year at Portland State. And that was the beginning that I knew it's something that I wanted to do full time. With that said, I was in like most young people, get your degree and go into your field. So of course I stayed in school, ended up graduating 2 bachelors. But the whole time I just maintained coaching. I coached at a local high school in Oregon while I still played. And as I moved up to Canada, I coached a U14 team while I played for Trinity Western. And I never stopped coaching. And I think that's what has afforded me opportunities now that I necessarily wouldn't have gotten if I didn't. So you'll see on the slide, once Regan stops playing around, there was a period in my life where I thought I would slowly move away from the game of basketball. And there's a guy by the name of Pat Lee. He is the women's assistant coach at UFE. He had reached out to me and said, hey, can you come coach my 8 to 12-year-old boy and girls for his club? And I just remember thinking no, 8 to 12-year-olds, I'm beyond that. I've already done my time. But I said yes. And I'm so glad I did, because it just has been a life lesson in the sense of, well, if I can't coach 8-year-olds, then I definitely can't coach 10-year-olds, and I definitely can't coach 15-year-olds. And you see the pipeline of where my mind was going, that I really just needed to stay engaged and connected no matter what level it was. And I'm forever indebted to Pat Lee for, one, begging me to coach with his program, but also teaching me that that transition period kept me in the game. And it was a really hard yes. I didn't want to do it. I was planning a wedding. I was finishing my master's. It was not great timing, but it's afforded me, staying in the game has afforded me opportunities now. So that's kind of how I started. Moved to Alberta in 2014, jumped on with Mount Royal, jumped on with, at the time, Out West Club, now with CBA, and of course I've moved over to University of Calgary. So what some of you may or may not know is that in September of 2020, which looking back, who would have predicted COVID, but I left my full-time, well-paying, very comfortable, very successful corporate world job for a full-time coaching job. And that offer came from Coach Damien at UFC, and the timing was right. And it was good timing for our family, but it was the biggest leap of faith we've had to take in terms of me following my passion to stay in coaching. Like I said, I have 2 kids, almost a third, so that could have really navigated me out of the coaching world, keeping my corporate job, but the timing was right just to make the leap and stay coaching full time. You want to jump to the next slide, please? Perfect. So that's my story. There's other possibilities of how women either stay in coaching or come back to coaching. I just noted some here. You see lots of young, brilliant young women who have graduated and want to come back to their program or want to come back to their high school and help. That's coaching. That's so what our coaching world needs is the females that are in that position. And then another situation could easily be that you end up coaching your kid's team, male or female. You come back to the game because you're coaching a team. So those are kind of the 2 avenues, though, that we see females in coaching, and maybe they stay with their child from grade 1 till all the way through. So I just want to talk about quickly just the current reality and possible challenges of women pursuing coaching in Canada. There are, like the slide says, very few full-time head coach positions in Canada, male or female. There's very few. And there's even fewer full-time assistant-funded assistant coaching positions. I want to say I'm one of 10, honestly. I don't know the number, but there's very few full-time assistant coach positions that are available to us, male or female. That's not a gender thing. It's just a male or female reality. So that's that's just where we stand in Canada. Another challenge being time, specifically for women, and potentially the maternal pressures that we feel outside of sport. So I've had to these are very real and near and dear to my heart because I've had to navigate them lately. And navigating them to stay in the coaching world has been what I feel like is maybe a part-time job. So that's just the current reality. Next slide, if you don't mind, Reagan. But in our current reality, the beauty of it all is that there's so many opportunities for coaches to stay coaching, male or female. There are so many opportunities for people to stay in the game in some capacity. Thank you to the Toronto Raptors for winning a championship 2 seasons ago, because it has really just put a rise on the number of youth, male and female, playing in Canada. As I was kind of thinking about this, I never saw an outdoor ice rink until I moved to Alberta in 2014. I grew up in open gyms, baseball fields and soccer fields. And so to watch this country go from a place of like interest to activity around our sport has been really, really exciting. And then obviously for us to watch our female national team sitting 4th in the current rankings, like that's amazing. We've just watched that progress over the last number of years. So there's just been a surge of young people playing. And so we need to support them. And part of supporting them is recognizing the need for females to also coach. You guys know males and females are wired differently. So it's about having a balanced approach for our youth and for our current athletes. And we've seen the surge lately in North America for hiring female coaches. So there's great positivity there. And I've only listed 3 here, but there's so many resources across Canada for female coaches at all levels. Like, of course, I'm at the youth sports level, but across Canada, youth sports, high school sports, whatever capacity you're in, and feel free to email me at the end of this, but there's so many opportunities for mentorship programs like the one that I'm in. The female apprentice coach program, obviously, Sport Canada has an enhanced female mentorship program, which I'm also afforded the opportunity to be a part of. As of this year, there's a Black Canadian Coaches Association with mentorship. There's a national basketball youth mentorship across the UK and Canada. So there's just, that's a piece of encouragement for females because there's so many resources, COVID or not, there's so many resources to stay engaged in the game. Next slide, perfect, thank you. So that's just a brief, I just want to touch briefly on women in coaching in Canada, and especially in Alberta, where we're all in different stages of where we want to be in our coaching. But what is similar throughout is just the availability and the accessibility and the support and the desire for women to stay in coaching. With that being said, there's 2 situations that have really encouraged me, that have kept me moving in what I think is the right direction in terms of fulfilling my dream to coach full-time. Carla Karch is actually Robin's boss, technically, boss's boss at Mount Royal. She is the director of athletics and recreation. And there was a time, I'll just share this briefly. I had just had my daughter, it was 2017, and I was at Mount Royal watching a game, technically on mat leave. And she just came up to me and said, she looked me in the eye, I'll never forget where we were, top of the track at Mount Royal. And she just said, Sarah, this is when we lose coaches. Like, what do you mean? She's like, this is when we lose coaches because the maternal pressures of doing it all, females tend to walk away. Oh, you know, I just got emotional in front of her, and those words just super encouraged me to stay the course and stay in coaching, not for myself, but for the ability to mentor young women. On another note, I went to dinner with Damien when he offered me a position at U of C, and I don't know if you remember this, Damo, but he said to me, no matter what, if you take this position or not, it will always be harder for the female. And it is. You know, I was sitting at dinner and my pride kind of crept in, and I'm like, he doesn't know, like, I can do this. I can work in the corporate world. I can be a mom. I can coach full time. I can coach club. I can do this. But it will always be harder for the female. So if we have that mindset going in, and if males recognize that it will always be harder for the female for the reasons listed above, time, maternal pressure, things that we navigate differently, if we can support females in staying or maintaining at minimum their role in this coaching world, our youth are going to be in a better position. So there will be a time in your life, just like there was a time in mine, where you may leave the game. But there will hopefully be a time that you come back to the game. And I just, as we get, if you're in that position, maybe that you're coming back into the game, or you haven't coached in 18 months, or you haven't been on court in 18 months. I haven't been on court in 4 months. Like, if you're in that position, I just encourage us all to evaluate picking up where we left off versus picking up where the game currently is. I think there's value in just, like, if you're being exposed to the game and you've been away for a bit, of just taking a back seat and really observing how the game has changed since you coached last, or where the game is going. I have here that Steph Curry, like look at what Steph Curry's done for our game in just such a short time. Just accepting what you don't know and versus narrowing on what you used to know. I think that will empower people to feel more equipped in their coaching. And then just my final point, I'm going to close here because I'm going over time, is if you coach basketball and a female reaches out to you to help or to be a fly on the wall. I think those were my words to Len Harvey when he hired me at Mount Royal. Can I come be a fly on the wall? My encouragement to you is say yes. In any capacity. If it's 1 day a week, if it's 1 hour a month that a female can be in the gym. I just think back to my experience with Pat Lee and the fact that he begged and I said yes, and he was encouraging, and my schedule was so full. But I think back to those moments where that would have been a time that I stepped away from the game. So if you say yes to all these people who are ambitious to spend time in your gym, I think Alberta basketball, Canada basketball will be in a better place. Next slide. So questions, we'll take them at the end because I think I went over time, but this is the Canada basketball approach: agree, build, challenge, and go deeper. And there's my contact information in priority of what I prefer. So I like email. I'm okay with Twitter, and I have a love-hate relationship with Instagram. So there's where you can find me. That's all I have.